Did Melinda say she was coming here?
And they're all work shirts, except
I
for my
always assumed
Kentucky.
you were going to be here unless they told me you're not, because the meeting schedule was posted in January. So we are live.
Time change.
We'll call this meeting of the Parks and Rec Commission to order. Roll call, please.
We have 3 o'clock. Mr. Behrens,
Yes.
Mr. Christensen,
Present.
Mr. Frericks,
Here.
Ms. Lautner, absent, Mr. Noonan, absent, Mr. Popa,
Here.
Mr. Robbins, absent, Mr. Smith, absent, Mr. Walter,
Here.
Mr. Yeomans.
Here,
We have a quorum.
Stand for the pledge of allegiance, please. Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Public comment. We'll proceed with agenda additions or deletions. Any changes to this agenda, gentlemen?
Can we, or do we need to add, Laurel, the discussion about next year's meeting schedule?
Actually, it's probably best that you have your hand out to think about and consider, since we are missing some members today. And then when you meet in organizational session in January, you can confirm the one that you want. I gave you 2 options. They're double-sided on that page.
We'll need to name one of those dates as our January meeting.
Our current meeting schedule lists the 3rd Wednesday of January.
Oh, so we're set.
So we are set
We're
for
set.
now. Yeah.
So
There's really no harm in discussing it in case some of us want to comment or not.
Sure, if you want to.
No action, no, I agree.
Right. So you just want to add meeting schedule discussion?
I think so.
Where would you like it?
That'd be the chair.
why don't we put it as item 4? Action item 4.
Is that a motion?
I move that we accept the agenda as amended.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
So we have an agenda. Financials, any comment?
Looks like we're a bit over.
Well, I talked to Jen about that because I knew that there would be some raised eyebrows. She said she has to make a budget amendment regarding the Mile Kimberly debris project, which came in at 46.8. So hasn't been done to your budget. So it looks like you're in the hole, but you're not really. As I said, they're gonna want to know if they can afford this playground equipment that they recommended to the board, which the board has tentatively recommended for approval. And she said, yes, you will be able to afford that.
So would that be available to the county commissioners for next Tuesday?
The final budget numbers,
Yeah, so they can,
There'll be a special meeting on December
Yeah.
29th to adjust all the budgets, so
Right.
you're fine.
we're good?
Yeah.
Okay. So we can go ahead with the,
well, the only other thing I would mention is Laurel Foran reached out to me about submitting a bill for the work she did on Monkey Flower.
I okay it.
Yeah, it's a little tardy in being submitted, but you had approved it in March and it's less than 1,000. So it's not gonna impact those figures much.
Okay.
Anything else financial?
Why do we get whacked so much for printing and publishing? Is that something that we printed on for trails, or is that something that comes out of this office?
Printing and publishing has to do with any advertising that you might do in your enterprise or publishing, if you did pamphlets.
That
kind
comes out of
thing.
that.
Right,
That's not the same like the one above where it says office operations supplies.
no, office supplies would be totally different, like pens, stuff like that.
Let's put the advertisements and for the enterprise in the agenda for January.
That's a good idea.
Then we can approve those going in, because they're, yeah,
It's always last minute.
yeah, they want it yesterday and
And we can look at previous costs and really make a strategic decision about what we want to do, so.
I had spoken with John Elkert a number of months ago about that very same thing, and I said, you know, a lot of times you're trying to find Steve and he's either away due to commitments that are work-related or otherwise, and
Really
he
calls me.
can't. Yeah, and I said it would be really helpful if you have a schedule for the year, if you would send that to us, so we can, you know, pretty much approve it in one fell swoop. So it wouldn't hurt to talk with him again.
Are you gonna talk with him or?
I'm thinking maybe Steve might be a better, because
yeah, what's the name again?
John Elkert, he's the
Okay.
publisher.
He probably has a person doing it too. So, okay, we'll figure it out.
Any other? Okay.
Move to accept the financials as presented.
Second.
So moved.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Laura, what do you have here, number 2, Parks Administrative Assistant?
It's me.
Oh,
I get to join.
State your
this.
name, sir.
Okay. My name is Chet Popa Janik. Oh, sorry. Cedar people have to stick together. So couple updates. One, and I just sent an email to all township and village officials because there's some confusion about this, but it does impact you also. As of January 1st, there's no longer an option of remote participation to be in compliance with the Open Meetings Act. They actually modified the Open Meetings Act temporary this year and last year. And most people were assuming that they were going to continue beyond it. But as of January 1st, all members of any body have to be physically present to be counted towards a quorum and to vote. You can participate remotely, but you do not count towards the quorum, nor can you vote. So that's a surprise change. Most people were anticipating the opposite. So as of January 1st, like this board or any public board, township, village, any public board in the state of Michigan has to meet in person, and members have to be in person to count towards a quorum and to vote.
State of Michigan.
State of Michigan, it's an open meeting. Yes,
Wow.
so it's a bit of a surprise. Most people thought they were going to be, this is actually stricter restrictions than prior to COVID. Prior to COVID, each board had the option of making a decision whether they were going to allow remote participation. You still have to have the majority of members present. But for example, our county board made a decision several years ago that board members could participate remotely twice a year and still vote. That's no longer an option as of January 1st.
Wow. Governor signed that?
Yes, it's part of the law. There's some talk about modifying it, but I don't know if they'll be successful or not.
But Chet, didn't the legislature let us know that in March when they took some of the powers away from her? They said, by the way, we're passing this law, but it's only good until December.
Well, that's a separate law, but it allowed units of government. Yeah, it is part of that, yes.
It is part of
Yeah,
that.
it's not, because it did allow units of government to declare a state of emergency to continue
know.
with remote meeting,
I remember reading that.
but that's no longer an option. So there is no local option of remote meetings.
Did they give a reason why?
Uh,
I think it was abused.
Part of it, there's some politics involved with it. But most people were predicting they're going to at least give that flexibility, at least back to the old law, where it's up to local units of government to decide whether they want to participate or not, but they took that option away. So it's actually, it's less flexible than it was prior to COVID. So just thought you should know about
There's
that,
people on vacation in Hawaii calling in or deer hunting and all that stuff.
which would have been under the old law. If the local board had that provision, you could do that, but it was up to decision of the local board. You still have to have the majority of members present at a meeting.
Right. The quorum had to be.
Yes. So example, this meeting, if Mr. Popa wanted to be remote as of January 1st, he could participate. He just can't vote and doesn't count towards a quorum. So that's the case. Technically, you would not have a quorum today because you have 10 members. So 6 members have to be physically present here. So just wanted to let you know about
And
that.
you said you told the townships this? or
Today, I sent an email to all the townships and villages because I had getting calls. Some were under well, some didn't know about it. We're making plans to continue to meet remotely. One township said, we'll just declare a state of emergency on January 1st. I said, well, you can't do that anymore. So that's why I thought, and I also attached a copy of the legal opinion from our law firm. So just, that may be a topic of discussion, because I know some of your members have participated remotely in the past. And so you should know that. What's that?
I still do. Township.
Well, yeah, as of January 1st, you can't. Yes, yeah.
Legally.
No, I'm still participating in the town. Today's my last day here.
Oh, okay.
But
Okay.
I'm continuing on township stuff.
Oh.
That's good enough.
Yeah. And like I said, I sent out to every township supervisor and clerk, along with a copy of the legal opinion. So the only exception is if you're an active member of the military, then you can participate remotely and vote. That's the only exception.
So there's no COVID exception in there, like if you had tested positive yesterday and you're supposed to
No.
quarantine or something?
No, technically, there's an exception now. If you simply state that you're participating remotely because of a medical condition, or you're providing care for someone with a medical condition, it didn't have to be COVID, it'd be any medical
I see.
condition, but that's no longer an option.
Chet, in that legal opinion, if we were doing it remotely, we can still be part of the listening and discussion and
Yeah.
comments. We just can't vote.
Yeah, just like if you want to have somebody, a consultant or someone participate remotely, that's still legally. You can participate, you just can't vote. You do not count towards a quorum.
Right.
Let's say we had the quorum here, et cetera, but Mr. Popa was, with today's proposal that he's gonna make was coming in zooming in, he couldn't vote. And we would have to have the quorum here. Can he make a motion?
No,
Just talk
He
about
has to be physically present. to
Yeah,
I
make a
can
motion.
describe it all,
Yeah.
show you the information.
Somebody else.
yeah,
has-
under that example, he could give an update and give all the information
Yeah,
as anyone could
Sure.
from the public.
But somebody else physically.
Yes,
would
it
have
has to be in the room.
Got it.
So,
I think it's a good thing.
so that's update on that, just so I literally sent an email out 15 minutes ago to all the township villages, just to clarify any confusion, because you don't want someone to assume things as of January 1st, and then someone from the public say, well, no, that's a illegal meeting you're having. So anyway, slide topic. The next topic is the administrative, what's on the agenda? What's it called?
Administrative assistant.
Yeah, I think that came from this Parks and Recs asking the board to provide some assistance there, which is ironic because I think that came from you, Mr. Popa.
Yeah.
At the same time, I made the same recommendation to the county board, not knowing that Mr. Popa did the same thing. So we were actually thinking alike in 2 separate meetings. And so you're really the only major body that does not have administrative assignment from somebody assigned to it. When you look at all the other county functions, which the Parks and Recs is a county function, there's an administrative assignment there to somebody. And so at one time it was, I believe technically Jerry Coleman, but he's more of the technical skills in the background, not an administrative part. So the good news is the board agreed on that and allocated $3,900 in the budget for 2021. So I'll be starting the process in January to assign someone the duties. It's a little tricky because if you get someone that's hourly, you can't combine a stipend with hourly employees on a regular basis because of labor laws. So I'm working through that. I have a kind of a plan in my mind that I want to verify before we go forward with it, but you will have some type of administrative assistance in 2022 and as part of the county budget.
But the person who's gonna fill that position is Laurel, is it not?
I can't comment on that at this point.
We don't know.
Do we have a say?
Well, but I thought we already had gone through coming out of your office, some sort of commitment of.
There's been no commitment made. The only commitment was the board approved my funding request for $3,900.
We know who we would like to.
Well, I know, I understand that. I guess what I'm saying is I misunderstood and thought that was already done.
No, there's a legal process you have to go
Gotcha.
through.
Gotcha.
If you'd like to make a recommendation on someone, I will certainly appreciate that.
You're gonna get me.
Do you want to make that announcement official now, or you want
That's why he's been waiting till this meeting was over.
to? I'm choosing my words carefully. You have to be careful how you bring extra duties or compensation to an hourly employee
Okay.
because of labor laws. So I'm going through that. I'm confident I'll have a plan in place that meets all the Michigan labor laws in January. And the good news is the money's in the budget. So money's not you don't have to take money from your budget for this. This is money that the board allocated for this position.
Excellent. Excellent.
So you'll be hearing more. I'll be glad to come, hopefully at your January meeting to talk about that.
Excellent. Thank you.
January or February, depending how quickly we can get things done, okay? Any questions about that?
The only comment I have, and maybe everybody remembers, when I scooped Chet on that, I came in and asked, I said, we need someone to help us out in the field though too. And I said, I want to see something with boots on the ground so that if a person said, hey, can you run out and get these pictures and meet with the person that's spraying the weeds and all that kind of stuff, so whatever. So if we do have this money in a budget, I'm not sure how you can also use to go run and take a picture or go run and give this report to somebody or leave the office, or I was looking more like a contractor, but I'm gonna take, this is fine. Appreciate it.
It's a start. It's
It's a start. It's a start where, you know, we're always running around doing this stuff. We gotta run to Elmer's, we gotta go do this. And it just wasn't this park, it was the other parks too. Or the, yeah, whatever.
The other major
That's my
update,
case.
since I'm full of updates today, we are in the process of developing a long-term proactive plan for all our facilities and buildings, including all the parks. And so most of you know Gary O'Connor from D&W. So between D&W and Gary O'Connor, Gary has been assigned Thursdays to strictly be focusing on develop a long-term plan for the county, to be a proactive plan and look forward at all our facilities and properties, including the dam, all the park structures, the towers, this building next door, and come up with a long-term plan. We've always been reactive versus proactive. And it worked fine when the buildings were new, but the buildings are getting to the point where we're spending a lot of money repairing them and just reacting. And we don't have a plan in place. We don't have a preventive maintenance plan in place. And part of that, I think, long-term, and the board has verbally agreed with the concept. I'm thinking we need a facilities management director. You know, Jerry's a good maintenance guy, but you have to remember, when we were in the Leelanau property, it was a much smaller campus, pretty simple heating, cooling system, basic electricity. We had 3 people working for us, and we had 2 parks. Since that time, we moved to this campus, very complex heating, cooling system, very complex sewer system. We added Veronica Valley, We added the dam, we added quite a few towers, and guess what? We still have 3 people working. It doesn't add up.
Makes sense.
And so we've been reactive versus proactive. So step 1 is let's get the study in place, and I have great faith in Gary and D&W. They have actually have done this for other companies that they have contracts with. And the board was supportive of that. And I said, part of the end result probably will be, and most of the board members verbally were in agreement that we probably are to the point where we need a full-time facilities manager, director, whatever you want to call it, facilities management. Director. So that'll be on the horizon for 2022. I hope to have the report done late winter, early spring. But it'll be a very detailed report. Gary already has started at the parks and looked at all the buildings. He wants to do the outdoor when the weather's still fairly decent.
But the scope of what you can look at isn't just exactly buildings, it's full property.
Yeah.
So it might include the parking lot.
Oh, yeah, everything.
That'll keep you out of the paper a little bit.
Okay,
with-
sure.
With big expenditures. for
Yeah.
Stuff that breaks.
Well, it'd be nice to also know that, okay, in 3 years, we really need to look at this.
Absolutely.
We don't have any of that. We wait till something breaks down, then we have to spend it. And you know, the buildings, this building, the heating and cooling, we've had problems with it. Is 15 years old, gonna be 16 years old already. The buildings next door is 18 years old. And things are starting to wear down, break down. We spent significant, and you can argue the merits of the systems that were put in here in the beginning. So,
I didn't know the county had a dam.
yes,
Can you tell us about the dam?
it's in Leelanau. And Mr. Popa and Mr. Christian can spend hours talking about the dam.
Honestly,
Yeah.
where's the dam?
The Leland Dam,
Thank you.
the Leland,
We have a
but,
dam.
yeah.
Been to Leelanau, right?
Oh, that's the dam.
Yes.
I know that dam. Okay.
That's.
I didn't know there was a county.
Yep. So anyway, you'll be hearing more about that, but just want to let you know that's in the works. And Gary started on middle of November. So every Thursday, he's here unless there's some other emergency working on this plan. And he has access to an engineer in case we need one and so forth. So you'll be hearing more about that.
Do you actually think there'll be some sort of report by spring? I mean. spring,
That's the goal.
like,
It just depends what he finds, but ballpark, we thought it'd take about 4 months for him, since he's only doing 1 day a week. But he's taking pictures, taking notes, everything, and would put together a full report. So at some point, I'll have him come to this board and give you an update next year. Even if you like to, even before he gets done, he can give you an update.
We can't generate electricity from that dam, can we?
No, I don't
Just a
know.
thought.
No,
In the future.
no.
It's against the deed. The deed says you can't. Real briefly, and I talked to Ted on this. One thing, it'll help the county commissioners and even administrator, is that table that he's sitting at always has a parade of different people. This person's bringing that up, and that one wants to tear a shed down, and I want to do this on a dam, which is gonna be one person. That burner is gonna be under him. That person is gonna take care of the facility, whether it's the roof, this, or dam, or parks and rec. They need anything on facilities, you're gonna go to one person.
Yeah.
So we take our action to that one
Yes,
person. They would take
yes.
it to the board of
And this will not be a maintenance type worker. This will be a director in an administrative position who have authority.
Yeah.
For example, when I worked at Northwestern Michigan College, for about 5 years, I was the campus services director. I didn't have a maintenance background. I didn't have an engineering background. But when someone came with a major issue, I knew who to call and who to assign the work to. So that's what we need, someone with some technical skills also. But this is not someone that will be working with Jerry and Scott. And
Well,
they'll be in office and administrative.
Yeah, and I just see the value of John's point.
Yeah.
Oh, it
Yeah.
is, some of this stuff.
Yes, you'll have one contact person.
Well, and that contact person will come to understand our request so that they
Yep.
take it to the board of commissioners.
And I'm
which-
sure at that point, that person will be coming to your meetings.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, and it'll be incumbent upon this group to make sure we've communicated. to that
Exactly,
person.
but
Clear.
you'll know one person to contact.
Right.
Now, it may not be his or her job to get the job done, but it'll be his or her responsibility to follow through and make sure someone gets the job done.
Getting us out from in front.
Yes,
The county commission on our requests is a good idea.
yes.
Getting us away.
Well, it takes a year to take down a shed. He's in charge of facilities,
Precisely.
and you just see him and he'll take it down. He'll have this multi-million-dollar budget to do all this.
Well, even.
It'll be a lot simpler.
Wonderful. Oh, I know it. No, I know it.
I
And
did
you won't
that.
have to
I
go in
did
front
that
of the
job.
commission, and I won't have to go in front of the commission, as we've both done.
Right.
And it's not always fun, or.
Well, the reality is you're all volunteers.
No, no.
You're all volunteers. You have limited knowledge.
We're limited now.
Yeah. So I think between short term, having some type of administrative assistant working with you, but long term, I want a full-time facilities director.
It's gonna be good.
And I think the board is in favor of it. Verbally, I've heard nothing but positive comments.
You realize it.
The administrative assistant, you had mentioned $3,900 in 2021.
2022,
2022.
it's in the 2022 budget.
That would be an annual thing, presumably.
Well, every budget's year by year, so we do one-year budgets. So we can't commit for future boards and future budgets, obviously. Any other questions?
Thanks.
Thank you. Thanks.
And
Jeff.
so this is your last meeting. Thank you for your service. I'll still expect to see you outside of Cedar Hardware in the mornings, giving wisdom and words of advice.
Every morning.
If you ever need any questions solved, go to Cedar Hardware about 8 o'clock in the morning. There's wise men there that can answer any questions that you have.
And a cat.
Well, I won't, yeah.
And a dog.
So just so you know, if any questions, go to Cedar Hardware, 8 o'clock in the morning.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Jeff.
Chad.
All right. Bye.
Oh, this one, that is, damn.
Park committee reports, done.
Miles Kimberly, I have nothing to bring to the table today. We're working on a few projects. The grub shack is still there as far as I know. It hasn't been removed yet, unless someone knows it has. It's ready to go and it'll be gone soon, hopefully. We're working on plans and not ready yet. We'll present next month at what plans we have to replace the grub shack. And that'll be an interesting thing to talk about. And the only other thing I'd like to mention is the loop trail, paved loop trail. We're still looking into that, and I'll report on that next month also. Nothing this month, really.
I didn't hear that on the loop trail.
On the loop trail, we're just looking into possibilities, how to fund it and where we have to go from there to do, how much public interest there is in doing it, things like that. It's a big project. It's $240,000.
Yeah.
Is the money well spent, and we have to feel comfortable about doing that. And the MK group will talk about that, and then we'll bring it to you guys next month.
I'll just dovetail here with the only other Veronica report other than what Mr. Pope was gonna go over, but Don and probably John and I will be working on, as we get into January, the wayfinding signage, because it's really just kind of approving the ideas we get. So somewhere January to February, we'll present that to this group. And have that already for spring, mounting, have those signs ready. Old Settlers, we have anybody here on Old Settlers? Well, Steve.
I can let you know, the board met Tuesday for their December executive board, and they have tentatively approved the recommendation of this body to purchase that equipment. So it's going to the board for final approval next Tuesday.
And wasn't there an issue of, like we had with the groomer, getting it bought and paid for before the end of the month? Apart from approval, but
Right.
didn't we have to have that money somehow actually spent before the end of the month?
That would be a good question for accounting, simply because I know that there are times when they make payments on 2020, the previous year bills in January or February, and they don't actually close out the year until after all expenditures are. But yeah, I would talk to Jen for sure about that.
Okay, I thought that was something that Melinda had brought up as we discussed this last time, that, oh, we had to move on this quickly as we did with the ski, one of the pieces of ski equipment 2 years ago. We had to rush some payment in December. Okay. If they're approving it,
I missed something. You made a statement that they're bringing this playground equipment to this body. I thought we already,
No, what I said was they reviewed your recommendation from the parks and they voted unanimously to approve that recommendation. And they will vote Tuesday on the 14th formally to approve that expenditure.
the county commissioner
Right.
will vote. We don't have to pass a motion to
No, we
pass it
already
No,
on.
you've already done that.
we've already done
You
that.
approved a recommendation to the county board.
All right.
Well, I'm not gonna worry about the financing. My question,
It's a good point.
well, I remember we went through it with the ski groomer. But, and I thought Melinda had brought it up, but it's gonna be approved by the Board of Commissioners. We're good to go.
And probably ordered this one. Once
I
they
would-
approve it, it gets ordered.
Ordered.
Yeah, because once it goes, the vote goes through on Tuesday, they'll start cutting claims and accounts checks
Right.
the next day.
Yeah, so it'll be.
Good.
I think
Uh-huh.
I'll probably create a purchase order in anticipation of that approval. So I can send that out the next day,
Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent.
as we only pay off invoices, so they could get it going.
Precisely. Okay. Excellent. I've already said what I was gonna say from Veronica relative to the wayfinding signage, which is something we'll be dealing with, just the three of us over the next weeks. John Popa, you're on top with driveway entrance recommendation.
The only thing I want to make sure it's clear and that we take a motion on is we've all agreed that we were gonna put a culvert in and we were gonna put that walkway in and that we were gonna do something to the driveway. And we went to the commissioners and all they did was approve for next year, with the driveway entrance, the pavement and the curbs. And everybody has a sketch on it. I looked at all our minutes. It was in the Veronica minutes. It was in Parks and Rec. I'm asking for a motion and I'll work with Laurel on it. I'm asking for a motion that we go out for bids on this. And when the bids come back, then we decide again, do we want to accept it or whatever. But to go out for bids, we don't have to take things to the commissioners to go out for bids, and Laurel even said that, so I don't want to wait another month or two to go out for bids. We like going out for bids in January. That lets the contractors know that they can put this on their list instead of doing it and showing up with a bid in the middle of July. So I'm just looking for a motion to go out for bids for this driveway entrance.
Would you make this a 30-foot width entry?
It says 30 foot on here. If we want to make it narrower, maybe we could work with that, but this one here from the road commission, and I brought it up to the road commission engineer, he said he'd prefer 30 foot, correct?
Yes.
Because we were talking about narrowing it, but it looks like the culvert they put in will easily take it.
Yeah, it was a bigger culvert than I thought, lengthwise.
Yeah, it was a long one.
That's a good one.
It's a good one. It's a little bit larger. And it went in good without getting into a lot of utilities. It didn't go in until a few weeks ago before the snow flew. But I'll be working with Laurel and we'll get the proper RFPs. That's it. Anyway, we'll go out for bids. Here, I'll get all the stuff drawn up and then she has the rest of it. in her. So I just need a motion that we go out for bids to install this commercial driveway.
Laura's got a question.
Well, I've got a question and then I
You
have.
can actually just have a consensus to go out for bids. You don't need a formal motion to go out for bids. The only time you need an emotion is when you're going to make a recommendation for something. So, this is what we tell the board all the time.
You're right.
We can go out for an RFP at any time. The only time we really need to make a vote on something is when we get it back and we're voting to approve the vendor.
Well, and I appreciate John's moving on this quickly because getting the RFPs gives us an awful lot of the detail we need to make a detailed recommendation for approval from the board of commissioners. So this is all good to get this moving. Steve?
I think, if I remember right, the ballpark for this is like 15-20 grand, right?
I forgot what was put in the budget, but I think it was close to 20, 18,
Yeah, and
somewhere.
this will
there.
be for, this will be for next year. So the money, I believe, is no problem, it's there. So.
Yes, I just wanted the minutes to reflect that no one's against going out for bids.
Correct.
Laurel's right, anybody can go out for
I think
bids.
we're good on consensus.
Well, I want to keep discussion because so in organizing the information you've got to put into going out for bid, to use that phrase, what it is they're gonna bid on, the detail. Do we need to know, John Walters, if you remember, everybody, we saw these 3 drawings of different parking lot designs, layouts. Do we need to know exactly, not have an idea of when it's gonna get done or the money, but the final kind of parking lot we want to look at, we want to get to eventually? Do we have to make that decision before we know anything about what you're gonna go out for bids for?
No. No, I met with John out there and with Scott and stuff. We're gonna just center it right on that present culvert. Because when John and I and Scott met there, we determined where we wanted the culvert. We eyeballed this and that was that. And if he has this design, it's gonna be that. And so it's gonna just center on that present culvert.
I'll talk about width. I happen to like this plan. It says 34-foot wide entrance.
Should say 30.
Yeah, yes. Well, that's probably why we asked the question, because the point on this thing that we're looking at is driveway 30-foot minimum width.
And I wouldn't know the difference, but this plan I like,
Yes.
and you had said 30 and I see 34. I just.
We're gonna go according to this road commission one that I had, that everybody's looked at. And it's been in all our minutes and everything. Yeah, that one. That's a 30-foot entrance right there.
Yeah, I think the difference would not be
Cement.
dramatic with regard to coming and going of cars and buses. It might have something to do with how we put a sign per se, but for getting in and out at 30 feet is a pretty generous, I would say. John, what do you think?
Well, it depends on the width, but, shoot, I'm sorry, I forgot to turn this thing off. But if you see the plan, you can be adaptive by the radius that you do at this point, as far as what develops there. So this could be the 30 feet, but if you develop a wider radius at some point for the type of entry that you want, you can establish it. The only thing I had put down was that the center, that I would think is that the center line of the driveway be not less than 45 feet from the south end of the parking lot now. that would give you the flexibility, Steve, to approach ways of designing.
Does that line up with what John was calling the center line of the?
I don't know.
It was, John, when he wanted to, we took the tape out and we went to, he thought it was a property line. We went from the edge of that gravel and we had more than the footage that we need if we're gonna put in a future parking lot. And we said, good, then let's put the culvert here and here, and it fit just perfect. So we got the future plans in mind, if and when that'll come, because that'll be another pile of money.
Well, yeah.
But
And I
for now, we're
understand,
gonna
I-
just get this part in. The pavement is getting all tore to heck, and there's a safety hazard there. And
Oh, I don't question that.
And that's why it's going
And you're
in.
answering my question. Go with this and not be totally restricted as to the final plan of the
Correct.
parking lot. This
Yeah.
will fit.
it'll fit any one of his plans.
Okay. Because we'll get to the discussion then someday of what we want to head for. I have no problem with acknowledging consensus.
And I'll get some stuff, words drafted up for Laurel, and we'll go from there.
Just a general comment about RFPs. If we get an RFP before we get the commission to approve, because we approve this project, then we have RFPs out there which are bad in the sense we get so many RFPs and then we don't approve the project. And then the county's looked at it as, oh, these people have these RFPs out there. I'm not going to respond to it because they've come to nothing anyway. That's what I heard earlier from someone on this group. So I have no problem with that, but we want to make sure if we're going to put an RFP out there that the Board of Commissioners are approving the project. And now you're saying we should get the RFP before we take it to the Board of Commissioners, so I'm confused.
Steve?
I think the commissioners are fully on board with this approach. The approach was part of the deal, if you will,
I'm talking in general terms about RFPs, not
with
this
re-
project. Yeah.
with regard to the culvert. So
It was managed.
the approach was in the scheme of things. So
It was in their budget and they agreed
they,
to it.
I think this one,
In this instance,
this
I'm not a
one
problem.
is fine and dandy, and I think it's good that we look at each one as they come along for that reason. But this one, I'm sure.
I
is-
agree with you.
Yeah.
completely.
Okay.
So I'm thinking more of my project that I'm gonna present next month. I'm getting some estimates now on replacement parts of this project we're doing for the replacement grub shack. And I'm just getting some rough estimates from places, not RFPs. Are you gonna come back and tell me, gee, you should have an RFP before we
No.
present it to the
I
Board
mean,
of Commissioners?
I think this is a good distinction, but I think we've got it clear. You're in a position of estimates.
Yeah,
We're in a position of being able to go for
so it's
RFP.
okay with estimates.
Estimates Estimates are important. We need to be in the ballpark when we're making a discussion.
And that we can take to the Board of Commissioners.
Once we're in the ballpark, then we decide whether an RFP makes sense or not. And at that point, we should be careful, that should, money
You
should
guys
be
are gonna have a
available,
lot.
we should have a pretty good, idea that we can move forward.
Y'all are gonna have a lot better with a administrator too.
Yeah.
You
All
can
of
take
this is-
your
All of this is gonna be
bids
processed.
and everything else to the administrators, and they take it there. And, getting estimates is great, but when you're looking at $250,000 estimates, you're gonna make the heads spin off of the Board of Commissioners, so.
I look online, I have a concrete slab.
If you wanna make their heads spin, go for it.
Yeah, there's a seat that's got a fire on it.
So we've got consensus, Mr. Popa. and-
Yeah, go
and
for it.
Ms.
I'll work
Evans
with Laurel on it.
of us.
Move on that. Item 4, schedule. I remember dealing with Jonathan Zubat. The suggestion came up that we change our schedule to earlier in the month because it would give us some smoother process timing, matching the board of commissioners. I don't know, sometimes I'm not sure what difference it will make, but I'm comfortable, personally, I'm comfortable if we meet early in the month instead of the third week.
Oh, you're
That
always
was
a
that
month
we're
behind.
deferring that, Laurel?
Well,
You
January.
suggested we defer that until we have. everyone
We
here.
wanted to at least discuss it here. We're gonna have to defer it when everybody's here. We have to make that decision at the beginning of January when we elect officers. We have to pick our meeting dates.
so I was just expressing an opinion so we can all think about it. I wasn't going any farther than that.
Personally, I could do either date. I kind of like the first week though.
Okay. I could do either. I don't have any.
If we choose sample A, which is a late month, we get a little better than a week and a half to play with. Whereas if we choose sample B, we get 6 days. So the idea is to be able to meet and do something before the county board meets for their executive meeting, and sample A allows us more days to do something. It gives us a little more, it gives us 2 full weekends and a full week and part of the next week to do something or to react or whatever. And if you look into the following year, if obviously we're not going to meet January 5th, but if we approve that, it would be the following year, it would be January 5th or early in January. I typically am not here. I don't know how many people travel a bit during the Christmas and New Year's timeframe. We meeting a little bit later in January, the 26th would allow people to get back into town and have a quorum. I don't know. So those 2 things I liked about that one.
How often do we have to race around between our meeting and the board of commissioner meeting? Quite often, if we approve something, saying, hey, we got this and this, and who's gonna put the presentation on? That happens quite a bit. You know, one of us is usually sitting there with her executive document, have this on it and that on it. I know it happens on a dam quite a bit. But does it happen here quite often?
I haven't sensed that it's quite often. And I think it was Steve's point that I saw last time when we discussed this, at least at the committee level. Meeting later in the month, we're really meeting only 1 week after the most current that month's board of commissioner meeting.
The evening mission, yeah.
And so then we have the longest length of time to get ready for the next executive session where we need some action taken. We've made a recommendation. We got to have all the pieces together for the executive session. Todd just said that we're always a month behind. Well, except as long as we all keep getting better at process and looking ahead, as I think this group has gotten over my tenure, we're getting better at it. I think a little later in the month makes sense. I think the schedule we've been on, the 3rd Wednesday of the month, still makes the best sense.
One nice thing about both proposals is that we always meet early in December. So if you took the 4th month, we don't meet the 4th week in December, which would be terrible because we can't get anything done by the end of the year. But we do meet on December 8th on both, which is good. The only other question I have is, it's tradition, or is it why is it ingrained that we don't meet in July and November all the time?
Harvest,
Cherry and deer.
harvest and harvest.
Harvest and harvest. Okay, so that's a given.
Yeah, we don't meet.
The months go so fast and the year goes so
Right.
fast. And then we say, oh, we didn't get anything done this year. and then
Well, we
March-
called a special session this year in
That's
November.
true, that's true.
I mean,
So we
that's,
can always
that's
do that.
always something you folks can do.
Especially if, Don, if we, in July, we see, you see as head of your committee, timing questions and making sure the process of recommendations from here to the executive report to the full commission. If we need a special session
Session, so there's always.
on a specific topic, so it's a
Yeah,
quick
I just threw it
session.
out there to discuss, that's
Yeah.
fine.
So yeah,
I'm all
the
for
answer is
harvest.
harvest and harvest.
I like to reap the benefits of the harvest.
That was good.
Yeah, John.
When looking at that B of having it that first week, and I know, just even Steve knows that I've been on these authorities and stuff. If I'm gonna come to the, let's just say, the full Parks and Rec with a recommendation, I usually have that executive document all typed up already with the motion. And then they chew it up at the meeting and say, well, I don't like this word. I think you should leave this insult off or whatever, do this and do that. And it's okay with that correction. And then it's a go. So usually there isn't much chasing around if you really got your act together, like if you were gonna do this and here's what we're gonna take in front of the board. So when this RFP comes back, I'll have that executive document all laid out. I'm gonna say it's budget item such and such, and this, when I bring it in front of this committee, you're gonna know what you voted on. You're gonna have this recommendation for this stuff. And it's gonna be laid out so that you don't have to go chase around for another week. So I'm saying, I don't think it's that much of a problem to have it that first week. Either what can go either way. Plus, we don't cancel that deer season. And again, I could go either way. It's not a, it's, some of this stuff drags on for 6 months anyway.
If we have September, October business and we see that we need to schedule a November meeting, then I think we certainly can take that action and have it earlier in November, so we don't miss if that happens. And again, I want to get us out of here with this weather, so we're just talking about about our opinions. We'll make a
With a
decision.
good administrative assistant, that stuff can all be ready for our meeting.
Laurel, go ahead.
Well, relative to the draft meeting schedules, time is also something to consider. I don't know if 3 o'clock works for everyone. So that'll be something to discuss, because I know with Casey, it's always been tough for him with kids getting off the bus. Maybe just adjusting it a little bit to 3:30 might help him. And again, just from a historical standpoint of trying to draft these meetings and get quorums, July was incredibly hard because people are either in harvest or they've got family here because everyone wants to be in Leelanau County in July. You know, so it was really tough to schedule a meeting. That's why everyone's enjoying our parks. And they don't really have time to do a meeting. If you do the last Wednesday of the month, then you probably don't want to hold a November meeting, but if you do the first Wednesday of the month and sample B, there is room to do that November session. I'm also going to prepare for the organizational meeting packet a copy of the current bylaws, because I think the bylaws state the meeting schedule in that. So we'll have to make changes depending on what everyone ends up agreeing to. Now, currently, your planning commission member, who is Casey, has been recommended for reappointment. So once the board formally approves that next Tuesday, he will be a shoo-in, and he was really the only one who fit the recreation category for planning.
If you were to have conversations with Casey between now and whenever, see what works for him.
I
if you
will.
would.
Again, that's decision-making we take on with that organizational meeting in January.
Yeah, we'll probably rehash the same stuff.
Well, yeah,
But at
and,
least all of us maybe will have our minds made up.
Yeah, good points all, and I like Laurel's point about the early November, that is kind of nice.
So we're definitely meeting on the 5th anyway.
That we're doing,
Set
right?
for the third, it's the 19th.
It's actually right now the 19th.
Oh,
Yeah, because
Oh,
I had put that in there, but we have an approved meeting schedule, which if we wanted to alter the meeting schedule for everyone, we can always amend our meeting schedule to meet that first Wednesday. So I'll get these minutes up hopefully within the next 10 or 12 days. I'll ask Lori to expedite the process on these, and then when I send out, I might even just poll everyone and say, do you want to meet that third Wednesday, or would you like to alter your schedule for that? It would be a combination organizational regular session in January. So which meeting date do you want? And we'll either stay with that third one or we'll meet earlier.
I'm okay for the 19th.
Are you?
I won't be here on the 5th.
Okay.
I'm okay with 19.
Okay.
19th works. We'll keep it that way. It's reserved, correct, the room?
Oh, always.
Do you think that you need to do the poll, or are we just gonna go with the 19th? I mean,
Sounds like people have already made commitments for that first week, so we can keep it on the 19th.
okay, good. I make a motion that we adjourn. We have public comment
And commissioner
And
and
commissioner.
commissioner comment.
Snowing out.
or member. I have a
I was gonna move to you, please.
Only a couple of us were here for my very first meeting. And there was a tirade at that meeting from an outgoing person. On this for quite a long time. I was like, what did I do? I was floored, my very first meeting that I came to. And I had a nice time, honestly. It's been enjoyable. I learned a lot. I learned probably some things that I didn't want to know because of the time frames and cost, but I appreciate all of you and keep up the good work on everything because actually a lot of things have happened. Do you remember that?
I'm trying to. I kind, my
I'm
memory,
curious.
my memory is really short for a lot of the tirades.
I'll say his
I
name
get 'em a
after
lot.
she shuts
Oh, I
off the
already know
machine.
who it is.
You know who it is.
Oh, yeah.
I replaced him. But thank you, everybody. It was good.
You don't
We're gonna
want
miss
to,
you.
I have bigger aspirations.
you don't want to continue on the Parks and Rec, or?
No. I have bigger aspirations,
I miss you.
bigger and better.
Wants to be governor. We expect a written report on the Williams operation once a month.